At the end of the day, selling is transferring a feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you can't transfer it. If you don't have a good, positive feeling, dude, you're an actor. You have to sell and run your business from a place of positivity. And however you get there, God bless you. Welcome to the Pete Primeau Show. It is episode.
Pete, you've muted your mic. Gotta unmute your mic.
Thank God for my producer. I was muted, and it was because of my kitty cat. Sorry about that. So, episode 175, we are with Andrew Carrington and Keith Messenger, the founders of Sleep Nerdz, and we're going to be talking about sleep solutions with the Sleep Nerdz today. Let's get the bills paid really, really quickly. If you haven't read my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? Go on Amazon. It's still, I think, $14.95, something stupid like that. 101 tips for furniture and mattress store owners to sell another $1 million or more this year. Hey, Tim McDonald, happy Monday, fellas. Let's roll. And let's pull up our next sponsor, Chris, the Mattress Industry Network Group. Thank you to everybody at the Mattress Industry Group, especially Greg and especially Steve, who sponsor the show and have done so much for the industry. This is a great group, guys. If you're not in the group, you got to join the group. It is a group for everybody in the industry. And who will you find in here? Fellow store owners, RSAs, owners of manufacturers, owners of sleep shops, owners of furniture stores, mattress reps, furniture reps, all kinds of different people. So join the group. It is one of the best groups that I have ever seen in any industry, let alone the mattress industry. So forgive my monitor from being jostled around, but Pepper is running around like a crazy guy. He's never been on the show before, and I think he's got a little bit of the nerves. And I would like to invite you all to Paducah, Kentucky. I will be there. If you've ever wondered what Scott Vaughn's secrets to success are at Happy Z's, he's going to reveal everything from top to bottom. The Winning Strategies for Success Masterclass, 2.5-day deep dive, including you walking away with a playbook, including hot seats, including you going to a store, meeting his staff, seeing his process in the flesh. So if you are in the mattress industry and you want to be better, this is the place. If you have any questions about how to get a hold of our friend Scott Vaughn, you can ask me. And without further ado, before Pepper completely destroys the set of the Pete Primeau Show, let's bring on our guests. Welcome, Keith. Welcome, Andrew. I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
No, it's my pleasure. So, last time when I had Andrew on, you guys were in the process of doing a bunch of things, and some of those things have actually happened, and more things are around the corner for you. So we're excited. I guess before we get started, I want to ask you probably an overly dumb question. Will you guys be at the Vegas market?
Yes.
Cool. Now, there's already people chiming in on my phone. It's crazy. And they're like, ask Andrew where he's going to be. I'm like, okay, I'll ask him where he's going to be. Why don't you come on the show and ask yourself? But it's all good. Where are you guys going to be?
So we're kind of floating this market.
Okay.
Trying to get around to as many people as we possibly can. And then there's opportunities where I can speak at some of the booths. So we're working in looking at some of those opportunities. So I guess as time comes closer, I guess we're there. We'll release exactly where we're going to be, but we'll always be at market at least.
Will you make an announcement on your website if they go to your website? Would that be a good thing for them to do?
Yeah, we'll do it on the website, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We'll make it pretty accessible to know where we're at.
All right. So there you have it, guys. Go to LinkedIn, Facebook, or Sleep Nerdz website, and they will let you know what their schedule is. And if you cannot wait to get in touch with them, to talk to them, just contact them through the website. So, Andrew, what have you been working on, man?
What haven't we been working on, I guess, is the question. The mission continues. The mission continues, which is how do we help more people live a healthier life through sleep and start taking control of their sleep. And that mission has not changed. It's just shifted on how we've been able to accomplish to get in front of more people and get them to take accountability. So of course, for me, I want to just drive around the country and get in front of people and get that transfer of belief, talk to them more about what they're selling and believe in it versus a process of how to sell it. But there is processes there too. But as Keith would tell you, that's not a cheap thing to do. I put how many miles, buddy, on that Sleep Nerdz van? Like 60,000.
60,000 miles
in 11 months.
In a year.
And it wasn't just going back and forth to work. This is all over the country. So one thing Keith will also tell you, I'm sure, is I would do this for free, but that's no way to run a business. So he's been telling me for quite a few years, actually, man, I got to say right around COVID that, you know, you should create a training program that people could take online and they could learn your lessons digitally. And that way you don't have to go to so many people. And there was something about that. I just didn't think there would be that transfer of belief for me. I didn't know if they would be able to take what they're learning online and then implement it on the floor. That was my biggest concern. And I just kind of got stuck in this rut of, no, I got to get in front of people. I got to get in front of people. And, you know, Keith and the Bedheads, we sat down with them years ago too. And, you know, Brandon is a very smart man. He said the same thing, right? Like you should do something that's more scalable than just you. And that kind of hit with me. And so, man, we spent the last 2 years building this LMS and we launched our first version. And it was kind of this, you know, university style where you go in there and you're basically getting a playbook and then you just got to read through all these lessons. And as time has come, we've transitioned that to, you know, your interactive lessons and having these 24, 25 lessons. People can take them now and just truly create a better experience, right? And they can take them in the order that they want. And it just makes it a lot easier for people. So, you know, that's really what I've been spending a lot of my time on. And this background is really, how do I create the best experience for the retailers or manufacturers that want to take the lessons? How do we create the best experience for the RSA? And then in turn, that's going to create the best experience for the end user or the client, as we like to call them. I can see Keith's giving me the you're in the training mode eyes. So,
well, client is a better word. I agree with that.
Yeah, there's a difference between a customer and a client, right? A customer will buy one time and a client will buy forever. If you treat every single person that comes in your door like a client, like you want them to buy from you forever, they will. But if you treat them like you just want to make that sale one time, I just need that, that's a customer, right? So with clients comes quality referrals, and it kind of this trickle down effect that we teach all about in our LMSs, right? So, you know, we have a retailer out in California that took a gamble on us, and she had her entire team go through the lessons. And, you know, I'm getting texts and pictures of things that they're doing that are implementing on the floor from the lessons. And that was my biggest fear is this going to be implemented on the floor without me being there? Well, absolutely. RSAs are, you know, very driven, a lot of them, and they want to get better and they want to do the best they can. So, you know, that's how we kind of transition the LMS. Did I leave anything out, Keith?
No, you covered it all. I love it. And you know what? It's a good point. Andrew called me very I don't want to say upset, but when COVID hit and he couldn't go out and train in person anymore, he was like, "Look, what am I gonna do?"
I was
So that's
crying.
when
You
that
could tell him I was crying.
okay, yeah, he was crying. He was like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do," because he just loves it, you know. So I was like, "Look, you got to get this online. It has to continue." So on we go.
So there is another component to client, um, and that is to be under somebody's care. And the best of the best salespeople in wholesale and retail all have one thing in common: they care deeply. They really care. Everybody who's excellent that I've met in our industry, they deeply care about getting the right results for our clients. And I think client is good. I like guest. I think client is a little bit more descriptive than guest. I guess anyone can be a guest. A client, it really is a little bit different, and I think it's more accurate. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Um, words matter in sales, tweaking words. And some of the things that I've seen that you have put out, Andrew, they are so good because it eliminates a lot of managing expectations by using clumsy words that aren't accurate,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to um, your adjustable bed training, and when you're talking about massage, not calling it massage, because when you call it massage, what's the first thing you have to do? If you're a good salesperson, the first thing you have to do is manage that expectation. This eliminates that, and it without getting into, I don't know how much you want to get into, but
No, yeah, I think thousands of people have watched that training at this point. So, my mindset on this, and this kind of goes back to what our LMS is about, is, you may go in there and see something like transitional statements or closing or, using trial closes, things like that. And you go, well, I know how to do that, and that's true to a point, but we're not trying to change how you're doing it. We're just trying to bring acknowledgement to it. And you get paid on what you say and how you say it. And we are all putting on a one-person show, and you've got to do the best show you possibly can. And so I think that kind of leads into how do we simplify it, not for just the retail salesperson, but how do we simplify it for the end user so that they can really understand it. And it's two things really. 1780 is something that we are a big believers in at Sleep Nerdz. It's something we created, and that's, people believe people remember 17% of what you say and remember 80% of what they're shown. So if you talk for 17% and show for 80%, you tie those two things together and you're going to get a lot better sales process. So we really try to challenge the mindset of how are you looking at these things and how are you saying it to the customer? Because if I say massage, I know what I'm thinking. I'm sitting at a table, somebody's busting out oils, there's hot rocks or whatever they do there. I've never had one professionally, but you know how it is. And so what we want to do is lead them down a realistic path of expectations, right? So a realistic path of expectations is, this is a circulation enhancer. This is a relaxation motor. There is quite a few names that you potentially could give it. But the circulation enhancer is a real thing. That's a real thing. So it's opening, contracting your muscles. It's releasing toxins. It's helping your body better recover from the day. Our mindset on that is if we can get these quick, easy sales concepts and just get these one-liners or these easy to explain concepts, that it makes it easier for the consumer to understand. So, of course, you've got the circulation enhancer going. As you're explaining the circulation enhancer, you don't got to crank it up. You got to turn it on its lowest setting to make sure that we're just letting them understand that it's there, not trying to shake the entire bed. So, you put the foot on only for just the lowest setting, and that's when you can kind of bring up that circulation enhancer in a realistic way, right? So I've learned in Dale Carnegie class that sales is all about setting up realistic expectations. So, that always stuck with me. And I felt like, how do we do that in the mattress industry? And yeah, so
you just stumbled on something there that I can't let go. So you said Dale Carnegie, and I'm going to say this: the best teachers are the best students. And if you show me somebody who stopped learning because they're a teacher, I'll show you a teacher who's not as effective as he or she could be. I love the fact that you took Dale Carnegie, almost all the very best of the
He
best.
didn't. He didn't just take it. He won the award there. He's trying to be modest, and you're right. The
He
best
always
teachers
is.
are the
That's
best
it.
students. Yeah,
That's why you're on the show, Keith. Not let him slide like this.
right.
Go
Yeah,
for it, brother.
I got it.
So, what award did he win? I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, tell us about it, Andrew.
They had, if you go to Dale Carnegie and you're blessed to be a part of that class, first off, you're surrounded by a lot of really good people that are wanting to get better, as you said. Well, I ended up in one in Florida, thanks because of Ergo Motion. This is way back, and they believed in me enough to say, hey, what if we send you to this, and what could it do to shape you even better? Well, when I got there, the guy that owned the entire, East Coast division ended up teaching the class because the guy that was supposed to do it got the flu. And so, he was, of course, throwing lessons out there that aren't in the books, that are just stuff that he's teaching in other classes that he just couldn't help himself. And at the beginning of the class, he said, we're going to have a sales championship award that's going to go out to the sales champion from the class. And we had to put together a presentation on our products that we sell, which, lucky for me, was the adjustable base at that point. And that helped me really kind of shape the process that I use to sell and show people when I went out in the nation, to be honest. So, I won the sales championship award. They sent me a plaque. I got a trophy. It was really cool, actually. One of the highlights of my life. And I left there, as I do with a lot of things, whether I'm happy, sad, depressed, I end up calling Keith, and I'm just absolutely ecstatic, like FaceTiming him with my plaque, like, check it out. But just like anything that, if you don't want a challenge to get better, you live in this world of comfortability, right? And we get comfortable. And when you're comfortable, there's no growth. And that's okay. A lot of people want to live in a world of comfort, and that's understandable. But I personally challenge and I push and I push and I push to try to grow. And so I know I'm also challenging Keith, even though he does that already, because there's things he knows from our lessons that he could have only learned from listening to me versus taking the lesson. So he can go on the lessons now and answer questions and be like, I blew through that thing because I've heard this stuff before. So I think that's how Sleep Nerdz was kind of built, was on this concept of how do we continue to push and grow? And specifically, this industry is shifting so much. And I think we had this conversation a little while ago about not a lazy sales force, but an undertrained sales force and an underwhelming sales force. And the whole concept behind this LMS was, how do we get people to understand sleep stages, cycles? How do we get them to understand the bi-directional relationship between sleep and health? How do we get them to, understand closing and transitional statements in 1780, and why product knowledge is important in sales? Not that you need to tell every customer everything about every product, but when should you tell those customers? And so we really try to lead them down this journey of, whether you're a day one RSA or you've been doing this 20 years, you can take that course and learn something. And Keith can vouch. There was a gentleman just took it, 20 some years he's been in this industry, and he said, I learned something in every single class. And I'm like, not what I was.
He was the one that was refusing to take it. I don't need it. I know everything. So yeah, it was awesome. Really
So we've tried to make it to where it's not just going on there and learning this information. And of course, you're going to make more money if you implement the things that are in there. There's obviously sales process things in there. There's, learning that you can do, role plays with other teammates. All those things are built in there, but it's really up to you. But we also thought, man, how do we just get more, right? So we're teaching about sleep, How much are people listening? How do we get it to their hands where they can actually truly understand it? And that's how the Zen Ring became part of our world, how we invented it or created it. And now we're down this path of the Zen Smart Ring, and why we have this, earn to learn program or learn to earn program, where you go on the LMS, you take the LMSs, you complete all of the classes, you earn a Zen Ring. Now that Zen Ring gives you the power now to understand your sleep on a level that most people don't. We found unfortunately a ton of flaws in the current tracking systems that are out there. Mainly they're listening and feeling for sound and movement and stuff like that. Now, if we're below a mattress and all these things, that could skew slightly what the information is putting out. The other thing we realize too is what's happening the 24 hours before you go to sleep, right? It's great to get a sleep score and understand your sleep. But first off, to understand your sleep, what's your heart rate variability? What's your heart rate dip? What's your SpO2 when you're sleeping? Can I get any of these from a sensor that's inside of a bed? No, we have to be directly connected to your skin. What's your temperature and stuff like that? So we originally wanted to go down the route of putting a tracker in every person's hands. And now Keith said to me one day, he looked and said, I didn't realize we were going to put a tracker on every person's hands. So that was the invention of the Zen Ring, right? How do we elevate this industry where not only the people that are selling should have a better idea of sleep than most people on the planet, because that's what they're selling, not mattresses. Of course, you got to understand your product. That's super important because that product is what's going to get you to your end goal of sleep. But how do you prove it? You prove it right here, right? You prove it right here. So we realized that in order to truly track all these important steps and understanding what are you actually in when it comes to sleep stages and cycles and how long are you truly spending in those stages, we needed to be able to, if you think about going to a doctor and they put the deal on your finger, I can't remember what it's called right now, and then that shoots the laser through. That's exactly what the ring's doing. It's shooting the laser through to understand and reads your SpO2 and all those things. It gathers the data, and then we get a realistic idea of what's happening versus a semi-guess, if that makes sense. So it kind of became this thing where it's like, originally it was like, okay, let's do this and, tie it somehow to the LMS and they can earn this ring, and now they can track their sleep, and now they understand how to sell sleep on a better level because they're understanding their sleep on a better level. And then
Exactly.
We realized, oh man, there's nobody offering these rings really to the retailers, to the mattress retailers. Like, nobody is. And we worked really hard to build this thing and make sure it's accurate. And we use an API American chip, and it's got Bluetooth 5.0. And I mean, I wish I had one of our first prototypes. It was absolutely ginormous. But we've been down a road of trying to make sure this thing is sleek and nice and free for membership. So you don't have to pay a membership fee. That's important to the retailers. And we can offer it in a package for retailers that they now have a whole nother product that has not been offered to them ever before. So we kind of created this unique thing we're calling, sleek tech accessories, right? We have our bed that turned into a topper, which we'll get to here in a little bit. And then we have our ring, we have our LMS, we have 2 other products that are down the pipeline that we can't really talk about, but that will definitely be there to
People keep sending us stuff to test all the time. So we really enjoy that portion. It's like, hey, will you test this for us, Sleep Nerds? So we really enjoy that portion of it for sure.
And the thing is, absolutely we will. And if you're claiming you will sleep better on product X, send it to us and let us prove it, because we have a tracker to track if I'm going to sleep better on your product or somebody else's. And we have no problem being honest and open. But, that's just really because we're nerds and we just want to know. We don't post it or anything. It's not like our...
I'd like to add something about the ring.
Sure.
It came from something a little more personal for me. I have one of the worst sleep apneas out there. I did 16 masks. I did the mouthpiece, and I was just dying every time I went to bed. So I ended up getting an Inspire. It's called. It's and I wanted to bring this up too, so that if anybody out there is watching, listen, I'm a huge advocate for this thing. It saved my life. Once I got the surgery and they implanted this thing in my chest, I felt 10 years younger. So, and it made me look at everything different, life in general, sleep, everything. And it brought me back to this industry. So, I just want to say out there, if anybody's struggling with sleep apnea and they have any questions about it, please reach out. I love to talk about it. I love to share my experience with the Inspire. Just to be clear, real quick, the Inspire is an implant that goes into your chest, and you start yourself with a remote at night so that you can get REM sleep and get the proper sleep needed.
He's saying REM sleep,
It's
but
just
he means breathe. He means breathe. So I've shared so many hotels for every Vegas, every market. Me and him share hotel rooms, and you know, me and his wife, Miss Holler, are always talking about this. Like, oh, you can tell when he hasn't turned his machine on because he stops breathing for what seems like, it's dark. There's nothing else in there but you and the sound of his breathing, and it stops for what seems like minutes. And all of a sudden, he can only take what I can describe as, coming out of a pool of water after you've been under there it just didn't think you were going to get to the top, and you're just, but he's not awake. And that's when I know I have to get the machine and walk over there and sneak, put it over his chest. But, not only has it saved his life, it saved his wife's sleep, it saved my sleep. You can clearly tell the difference, but he didn't know how he was sleeping.
I know now when I sleep. I know now when I sleep and when I don't sleep. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, every time he got done with study. So he gets the implant and they're like, "How are you sleeping?" And he's like, "Good, I guess. My wife's not complaining or kicking me, so I guess good. I didn't wake up with any bruises, so winner there." But he had no idea. And I mean, I think at one time we looked it up. It was between $600 and $6,000 to get a sleep study done. And that's the first kind of like, there's got to be another way. This was years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And now there is. We can't do everything a sleep study can do with our ring, but about 95% of it can be done with the ring. And we're also improving the technology of the ring with different versions as we speak, right? We're looking towards the future of what's this health industry going to look like in 10 years, So. That was a lot.
This is Ray at Harrison Mattress. Inspire is amazing. I was part of the surgical trial as a nurse. Very incredible technology. So Ray is one of my favorite people in the world. She owns a sleep shop in Harrison, Ohio, and she's been very reluctant to talk about her background as a surgical nurse, which I go crazy over. And like, you're the only one that can say this. You have to put it out there. You have to talk about it. So Ray, thank you for chiming in. And, Keith, I just have to say something. I've never met you. And if I did, it was just really quick and shake your hand or something. But it takes an incredible amount of bravery to share what you just shared. And it shows me that you care more about other people benefiting from your story than your story itself. And a lot of people would just keep that to themselves, and you didn't. And I just want to compliment you. Thank you for that.
I appreciate that. Well, big part of it is most people don't know about it. So I feel like it's almost like my job to make sure everybody knows because it is so effective.
It is your job to let everybody know. It really is.
Yep.
It's a real benefit to you, to your wife, and everybody that cares about you and loves you. And, I'll tell you a funny story. And when you were telling the story about sleeping in the room with him, Andrew, I slept in the room with a guy who said, we were at market and we had to share a room, and it was actually in a house. And so we were the two key account reps for the company. And I was a key account rep in the north of Ohio. He was a key account rep for the south of Ohio. And so, we were renting this house. So me and him were roommates. So he tells me, his name's Jerry. And Jerry says, Pete, I've got sleep apnea really bad, and it can be a little bit scary. So like, if like you think I'm not breathing, I'll be okay. You don't have to like do CPR or anything. Well, I said, sure. I had no idea what I was in for. And so I woke up to use the restroom, and I couldn't get back to bed right away. And I hear him go, and I'm like right over his face, and I'm like ready to like do something. He opens his eyes. It's like out of a horror movie. I scream, he screams, and our boss runs in, goes, "What the hell's going on in here?" And I'm like, I thought Jerry was dead. I was gonna try to save him. I was just making sure that he wasn't breathing. And I didn't want the poor guy to die in the room without me doing anything, right? So
yeah, it's a scary thing if you've like, and people will say, well, I snore, right? And usually if they're saying that, that's because it's already affected somebody else's life. But it's so much worse, sleep apnea than snoring. I mean, these deep, dramatic, scary breaths are, so terrifying to be a part of at the moment. And then you kind of fall asleep and you wake up in the morning, you try to say, hey, but I know both me and his wife have recorded these because it's that like, oh no. But now I know I can, hey, I just look for the machine and then I can he's only caught me one time hovering over him with that machine. And he's like, what are you doing?
A little creepy. Yeah. But like you, Pete, you're over Jerry saying, I'm getting ready to do something. So that's what he's doing.
I didn't want to do anything until I knew for sure he wasn't breathing, but he's not breathing. And like from a foot away, he's not breathing. And I'm getting closer and closer. And then his eyes open and we both screamed. Oh, it was hilarious.
The first time I heard that first snort, I'm standing up. I'm finding that button. I'm not going on any longer than it needs to. Because he also, he wakes up with these terrible sore throats too, because of the way that he's taking these breaths. And it's these things that, and then we're going to market and he can't go out there and talk because his throat's all sore. And it's like, you don't realize how these little things affect your life. But, sleep is a vital role. It plays a vital role in our healing. It's this bi-directional relationship between health and sleep. And we've got to sleep to heal. They're connected. And so when you're not sleeping, when something's preventing you from sleep, whether it's sleep apnea or PTSD, you could have night terrors. There's people that suffer from all different types of sleep disorders. You don't realize the trickle effect it's having into your life, right? Or you could, until you start getting better sleep, until you start realizing. So the whole thing with the Zen Ring is, how do we give people accountability? How do we give them something that they can take control of, that they can, put on their finger, track their sleep? And as I was getting to earlier, it's this 24-hour view. So we give you a sleep score. Of course, everybody does, but it's based on real information, not that anybody else's isn't, but we're trying to be as accurate as possible. And then we tie that in with a readiness score. And the readiness score takes your sleep score and it takes all your activity from the 24 hours before. It talks about your heart rate and, how many steps did you take and how many calories did you burn? How many miles did you travel and all these things. And then it also takes your sleep, the heart rate dip and variability. And then we tie all those things to give you a readiness score. How prepared is your body based off of everything you did the last 24 hours? So
yeah, just about the ring, I just want to throw this out there too. I shouldn't say everybody, but there's Auras out there. Samsung's now coming out with a ring. We're not the only ones. We're not the first, but we are the first that can bring it to this industry and other small retailers. I mean, if you went out and you wanted to buy the Aura, let's say, or another competitor, you can't go and buy it and put it in your store and sell it to your customer. So, yeah, that's a huge point to bring up. And we're not out there to compete with them. We're really out here for our industry. We're really out here for this industry. So,
and I'm glad you brought that up.
I just really wanted to point that up.
I'm glad you brought that up, buddy, because, that's the same with Sleep Nerdz. We built that with the retailers in mind, not with anybody else in mind. And that's the same with the Zen Ring. We built the Zen Ring with the retailers in mind. And then the Smart Guardian Topper, it's the same thing. Like, how do these impact the retailers? How do we enhance the quality of conversation we're having on the floor using technology? How can we increase average ticket without competing against anyone? Because I've been in this industry so long, I have friends in every single major company. It's hard to want to do things sometimes because I don't want to compete against anybody. I don't want to try to be in any of that world. But it just kind of, the Zen Ring went right in line with what we were trying to already do, right? How do we take accountability of your sleep? How do we understand sleep on a level that most people don't? And then how do we transition or transfer that belief to a consumer or client? And so that's
Andrew, sorry to interrupt you, but before we leave the topic of the Zen ring, I just want to point out with our LMS that you learn to earn. So we've designed a program so that when your RSAs go through our Zen or LMS program, after you're done and you complete the program, you get a ring. You get a Zen ring sent to you from the Sleep Nerds for completing our course.
Because you're an official
Learn to
sleep
earn.
nerd.
You know, the
Yep.
first question that you're going to get from a retailer is, well, how do I make sure they finish it, right? And that is a great carrot. The other
Yes.
is a stick, and they're the ones who carry the stick, so we don't have to get into that.
Right.
It's like, who owns the company, right? Jeff Janakovo, my friend who has been talking about so many of these subjects for a long time. Jeff Janakovo from Gardner's Mattress and More in Lancaster, PA, says, love that, built with the retail community in mind. We have the ability to blend need with fit, with desired support, your items for the best fit and outcome. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
So
This is a good time to get into the topper, I would say.
Yeah, let's do it.
Listen, I'll start on this one, Andrew. We really paid attention to the industry. We decided that we wanted, obviously, with my sleep apnea, we were on a mission to get this sleep tracking down. Initially, we thought, the best way is just to have it in the mattress. We found after we came to market with that mattress, we listened to our peers in the industry. They said, look, this thing's going to be better if it's a topper. You're not going to be competing with anybody on anybody's floors. So two things happened. We listened to the industry, but also, we learned that it didn't track sleep as well as our ring by any means. So it is a safety factor in the bed. It has two sensors built in. One is a biometric sensor that reads your vitals second by second. The other one is a FSR sensor that knows when you move or when you're out of bed. We found that the safety factors of that bed or mattress topper now are huge. Imagine this real quick. You call your mother or any loved one, and you're looking for them to find out if they're home or whatnot, and they don't answer. You can look at the app and see that they're in bed. Also, these alerts that are built into the bed, so it's a whole safety thing. So let's just say your elderly mother gets out of bed. She typically takes 3 or 4 minutes to go to the restroom. So you set an alert on there for 5 minutes. If she doesn't return to bed, something's wrong. It'll send you a notification.
That's
One
great.
more thing. So I was really excited about this device. We had tested so many devices. So I was setting up my guest room, away from my wife and everything. And this ties right back into sleep apnea. So I laid on this topper. I fell asleep. 15 minutes later, remember, I have sleep apnea. I was so excited about this device that I didn't start my sleep apnea device. This thing woke me up 15 minutes later and told me I was suffocating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, it did not
Yeah.
use the word suffocating, but so I can set if my respiratory drops below a certain rate to let me know. So now, me being a sleep apnea guy and having the Inspire, when I forget to turn on my remote, whether it be because I had a couple cocktails or I just simply fell asleep and forgot to turn it on, this thing wakes me up and tells me I'm suffocating. But now I can wake up and turn the remote on. So this thing has some benefits that we didn't even know. We were
Yeah.
figuring out. I just want to make something very clear. This is important. I am not saying that this detects sleep apnea, that it diagnoses anything like that. What I'm telling you is I have sleep apnea, and when I don't start my remote, this thing knows it.
Yeah. So what we tried to do, Pete, is really go down the route of, originally it was the tracking. And we just, of course, two nerds, we're in the mattress industry, throw that tracker into a mattress. But, sometimes with great success comes failure. And I will say that, we got back from a market and we listened to so many retailers, and, we got to a point where, again, we started competing against people that we did not want to compete against. We had no, business being in that competition, to be honest. So, but a lot of people said, it's just too much money. Like if it was this much money, if it was just a topper, it would make so much more sense. And again, I think this is even something that Brandon Bain had said a while ago. We just need to make sure that we're going down the route that prepares the retailers, but also is creating something that's helping the industry as a whole. So, that's how we got back from market, and Keith looked at me and said, we got to pull the plug on the bed. And I've known Keith 22 years now, and one of his superpowers is knowing when to back out, when to walk away, knowing when to understand a situation may or may not be good, whether it's financially or emotionally or financially. I said financially twice, but he looked at me and said that, and I looked him right in the eyes and I said, I totally get it. And he said, but it's not over. We're going to make a topper. And I said, I understand. And then I went out in the RV and, cried for quite a few minutes, and I'm not afraid to say it. It's years of effort and more money than we would like to think about. But one thing we learned was, if you're truly listening to what the retailers are saying, and you're not trying to make something and then try to push it on the retailers, you'd be surprised at what they're saying to you. You'd be surprised at the direction that they're going to give you. So as we built this topper, it's really a guardian. When every other bed turns off, we turn on, right? So it reads your vitals live, second by second, every second. And when you click onto the app, you can literally see somebody's live heart rate, their breathing rate. You can see if they're in or out of bed. I have daughters. If they get out of bed to go to a party or whatever it is, right in the middle of the night, I would know. It would say, hey, your daughter hasn't been back in bed in 15 minutes. And that's extreme. But you've got sleepwalkers, dementia, Alzheimer's, people that are getting out of bed and not remembering to get back into bed, that are getting confused. So we really wanted to go down this live vitals. And we both dealt with some health stuff, and it just seemed like a natural kind of thing, versus, just giving a tracking score, which is great. This is actually actively listening, it's actively watching, it's actively part. And so it's reading these live vitals, and then if your heart rate starts dropping and dropping and dropping, that's when it'll send an alert, right? And then if your heart rate goes up, or if you go into cardiac arrest, or if you're having some sort of seizure or any of these things, it'll at least know something's off, because it's AI, it's learning from you, and then it'll send an alert to the loved one that you have set. And we also have an SOS button. The SOS button, you can hit the button or you can talk to the button. Let's say you go to get out of bed and slip and break your hip or ankle. And just, don't see the dog, and you miss the dog, but you end up breaking a leg or something like that. You can ask for help, right? And you can either press the button or say help, and that thing will call for help. It'll alert a loved one. It'll text them. It'll message them. So we're really trying to go down that route of, what does the future look like? How do we actively get more information? And that led to the bed, that led to the topper. So now we've just kind of opened that door where, it's just a twin XL topper. That topper will go on any mattress. And then, so I know I just went off, but that, it's my baby. And,
yeah.
So Joe, the finance guy, says that is an awesome device, especially having the live vitals that are actively watching the person. Yeah, 100%, Joe. Chris Dehaney, my boss at Dream Fit and my friend. Chris Dehaney is Rarefied Air, and he found out that he had sleep apnea too. So, hey, boys, question. Other vendors have tried to place sleep devices on mattress retail floors and have failed. What is a key thing or two that you guys learned from the failure of others?
Chris, you're just lobbing one up here for us. We know it's training.
I love
we
this.
all were part of that launch. We know it's training. We know it was the training. They didn't teach the RSLs how to sell it. There's a difference between selling technology and selling a mattress. So if you've spent your entire career selling something you can physically touch and feel, that's an easy sale to be able to perfect and work your way down. You get to know the beds of things. When you all of a sudden get thrown a technology and you're like, hey, sell this, and nobody teaches you how to sell it, we truly failed, I believe, as an industry launching the original sleep trackers, just because of the they tried to build up so hype in it so that you didn't kind of know what was happening until you were at the training. And yeah, that's at least that's my view. And of course, I'm a trainer, so that's first where I'm going to go. I love that question, Chris. What are you going to say, Keith?
It is training. It's training all the way. I mean, yes. And we love you, Chris, by the way.
Yeah,
We appreciate your support.
yeah,
Definitely.
So
I think
I have something I want to just jump in there with. Sorry, I cut you off, but if you watch my show, you'll find out that I do that all the time, even though I do it nicely, and I apologize for it. So here's one of the things that went off in my head. And Andrew, we're cut from the same cloth this way. We deeply care, and Keith as well. There's no way you would have told that deeply personal story, Keith, if you didn't truly care. So here's the thing that went off in my head when I read Chris's question, but it's real. We have so many hokey, excuse my French, bullshit in our industry. It just has to stop. And this is real.
Keith, what was the saying we created when we started Sleep Nerdz? You could tell him because
we got to stop the story, stop the bullshit.
We're going to get rid of the bullshit, right? Yeah. Like legit. Like if you're just going to keep coming and saying this does this, this, and this because you proved it in a study, right? So, studies can be skewed, projections can be skewed, numbers can be skewed, people can be skewed. So, for us, when you look at the data, the raw data of are you actually sleeping better or not on X product, right? This goes back to that. But yeah, it's gotten really crazy actually. And I feel like if we keep doing that as a whole and not shifting to the science, which is there, like it's just dangling there. And it's $1 trillion industry, the sleep industry is, and the mattress industry is like $1 billion industry. So it's like, why wouldn't we just tap onto that health side of it and grasp it and pull it in? But yeah, if you're just trying to still sell and push and make up these bullshit stories that have no real true validity other than the fact that you ran your own personal study on it, that's not going to get you anywhere. And I feel like, again, when we talk about tracking as a whole, if we're putting a sensor under a mattress, under a bed or wherever, and it's listening or feeling for your heart rate and breathing rate, we have issues with how well and accurate that data actually is. And so I think that was also part of the flaw. And the other thing that, if we get back to like looking at other technologies and stuff, I think training is number one. And then there's the lack of understanding the technology and how to properly sell it. And then is the data as good as it possibly can be? And of course it is for what they're doing, but this is why the ring came to be. We need to know second by second, minute by minute.
So I have just one little thing I want to add to that, Chris. I hope and I pray that there is an army of sales pros that complete this training and get a Zen ring, and they benefit from understanding more about their sleep and maybe nipping some problems in the bud before they get to be bigger problems. And they become evangelists. And so if your sales pros at retail become very highly motivated to sell something that they own already, that they benefited from already, and they can tell the true story about how Mary didn't know she had sleep apnea, but she learned it from, she might need a sleep study from the Zen ring. Those stories will start to accumulate. Those stories will get out there, and you're going to have this driving the right way. You're going to have sleep sales pros who have completed the training, who own these rings, who swear by them, who love them, and who care about their customers deeply and want their customers to have one. So I think it's a completely different, it's not just an owner buying something that the sales pro never heard of and saying, oh, buy this thing. It does this, that, and the other. And the sales pro knows nothing about it. It's completely different.
Yes, we set up the programs too for the Zen ring if a retailer is interested. We set these programs up to where, we tie in the LMS. And, we found that it takes about, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the retail sales of persons. We've had one go through it in like 9 days, which is absolutely amazing, because it's your own pace learning. But we work it to where when all your team gets through it, then we'll show up, we'll do our launch. Well, everybody earns, it's a two-sided thing. You're earning your Sleep Nerd certificate, and you're also earned your Zen ring. And we're doing a whole ceremony. It's like graduating. And now they have the power to sell the ring. And people say, well, how do you sell on the floor? One question: how are you currently tracking your sleep? And if they say Apple Watch, well, we know they're not, because they have to charge it. If they say my bed already does that, well, how accurate is it, right? So we can lean down, kind of asking those questions with purpose, which is a lesson that we teach as well. And that all leads down to really accountability, right? Wouldn't it be nice to sell an $8,000, $12,000 bed, knowing that they're going to go home and sleep better on it because they have a ring and you can prove it, versus just saying they will, and then when they walk out and they say, well, I don't really like this bed. Well, how did you sleep, right? What kind of quality sleep did you get in the bed? Because with the ring, we could. I don't need to see your information, but I'm just curious how much time you spent asleep, where you're tossing and turning. Did you wake up in the middle of the night? Because it could be a heat issue, which we can track again with the ring, with temperature. So there's a lot of factors that play in. As well as buyer's remorse, which is probably the number one, right? They get the bed, they get sold a fairy tale land of sleep, and they get slightly better sleep than they had, and it's not a realistic expectation. So then they come back with I don't sleep very well. Well, how do you sleep, right? How did you sleep? Prove it. Yeah. Prove it.
Hey, yeah. Chris, there was a comment there. I wanted to. Can you pull it up real quick?
Oh, Blake's
comment. Thank you. Blake Austin, our guest from last week, the AI guy, the man who sent me cheesecake. Love you. Way to kick off my diet.
Yeah, amazing, Blake, way to make the Sleep Nerds look bad there, buddy.
No. We found out he was on a diet and chose not to send him anything.
That's right. You guys really are masters of AI and knew that I was already on the road. Amazing stuff. Definitely had some elderly grandparents where this would have been super valuable. That's a great point.
One of the I gotta say something about this.
Go ahead.
This touches this is where this thing came from. Is my mother had cancer. She battled. She lived 20 minutes from me. If I would call her and she wouldn't answer, I would just basically panic and drive the 20 minutes over there. And at times I would get over there and she would just be standing in the kitchen. She's not sure what she's doing. One time I show up and she's out in the front yard. If I had this thing then, I would totally have just went to the app to see if she's in there. I could and know and have that peace of mind. That's where this topper and this smart bed idea started. Is I really wanted to try to figure out some sleep safety. Yeah. And by the way, Blake, awesome show last week. It was great.
Yeah, he did great.
Thoroughly.
I got a lot of compliments from that. And my comment back is always, it helps when you have great guests.
Yes.
And we did again today. I can't believe how fast this thing has gone. One of the things that I constantly say, if your customer is not getting, your client, I should say, is not getting as good of a night's sleep as he or she could, and they do now, after, you help them to be better at whatever they do for work. But more than that, more importantly, they're a better father, grandmother, grandfather, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, whatever it is. You're better at it when you get the proper sleep. So guys, here's my question. We've been going at this for almost an hour. Our time's closing, and it just sucks because it feels like it was 2 minutes. Like I had all these questions I wanted to ask you. I didn't get a chance to ask any of them, but here's my question to you guys. Is there a question that you wish I would have asked you in the past hour that I didn't, and maybe I can ask it right now?
Andrew?
Yeah, I've kind of as we've been talking, I go back to what Blake was talking about. What does AI look like? What's the future look like for AI in 10 years? I don't even know if we have to go that far. What does healthcare look like in 5 years? And what kind of role is the mattress industry going to play in it? I think
That's a great question.
I like that, Andrew.
So what kind of a role can and should the mattress industry play in the broader landscape of healthcare in the next 3, 4, 5 years? You're right. We don't have to go 10 years out.
no,
It's
we
going to
don't.
be
So,
important.
Changing so
It's going to
fast.
be really important as sleep is the holy grail.
yeah. So I think, technology is ever evolving. And I was blessed to be with my mama last week, and I showed her the ring, and she kept asking, what is that? What is that? And then she finally figured it out. And then she's out, peddling to every person she can come in contact with. So if we have micro technology and sensors now, I believe the industry will only continue to grow, and the nerds want to kind of be at the forefront of that. And I believe that as we look at your telemedicine specifically, what is it going to look like for someone that can we save people from having to drive into the doctors? Can we save them from having to be around other sick people or potentially getting sick? Can we save some in these daily appointments or weekly appointments? Can we in a device that can do all these things encompass into one, right? I feel like that's kind of the future we're going, is this telemedicine, at-home care, kind of that future that we've been kind of watching in movies for a while, where you kind of walk up to a machine and you do a couple things, and now you can send that information to a doctor because it's accurate enough, right? And I feel like as far as the mattress industry that plays the role in there is, where's this information going to come from? Where's this device going to come from? Who's actually going to be able to get it into the consumer's hands? Who's going to be able to explain it, right? And really take people down the path of, the reason you need this to understand your overall health is because, we are moving towards better sleep, better health. And so if we improve your sleep, if we improve your habits, we can improve your overall health. And so to me, it's only this natural transition of, this is why we created Sleep Tech Accessories, is we need to broaden the brand of what we're able to offer on the mattress retail floor, so that we're leaning more towards the sleep conversation. Because look, everybody's been selling that for 10 years, but how much do you actually know, right? I think I said this the same time last, is it a slogan, or do you actually know about sleep? And that's why the lessons were built. So I think it's going to get to a point where telemedicine and at-home care is going to absolutely explode. There's not enough people out there supplying that industry, as we found even the sensor industry, right? It's just so limited that if we as a whole, as a retailer, start making these shifts, we can be in control of that versus trying to grasp. So that's my play on it. I don't know about you, buddy.
I love that, Andrew. I think that's really well said. The only thing I want to add is, people ask me all the time, because I run the digital aspect side of things. I just want to tell the whole world that the team at Platigy Development, that's my team. They did all of our websites. They do all of our social now. They're incredible. I just got to say that.
Chris, can you pull Spalding mattress comment up? Does the Ring have an app? Yes. Is there a video connection to see the person in bed?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, the first question is, it does have an app. Oh boy, does it ever. It's a beautiful app that we took a year on. Also, we struggled to get it on the platforms, but we are on both Android, and we are on Apple. So yes. The second part, is there also a video connection to see the person in bed? There isn't, but I think this could be something in the future. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a little, there's a privacy thing, I think, like, but
you might as well put just something with my gears spinning right now. Like, I need to get off the phone so I can figure this out real quick.
It was absolutely.
Why did you get me started? No,
that was a gift.
That was a gift, Pete.
Harrison Mattress, Ray from Harrison Mattress. Sleep is life. Yet as nurses, we wake a patient every 2 hours. Let's fix that.
Yes.
No
Yeah, it's crazy,
kidding.
isn't
That's
it?
a good point. My wife's a nurse. That's why I got my whole sleep apnea taken care of. I credit that to her, but this is totally right. We don't need to do that anymore. We can go and look at the vitals. We don't have to wake them up and interrupt their sleep cycle. Goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
100%. Guys, I could talk for 3 more hours. This was so
Us
fun.
too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No,
Listen,
thank you.
I know that there are people who are watching this live who want to connect, and I know that there's a lot of people that are going to watch this on replay. So, how do people get in touch with you guys? How do they get in touch with the Sleep Nerds? What is the best way?
Yeah, I think sleepnerds.com, if they're kind of looking for what are we offering for our retailers and what's, they can get a better story about the LMS and the training, and it's all in there, really clicky, easy stuff. Trying to make it as simple as possible. For me, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, but sometimes you have to pull back on things to put effort into others. So as I pulled back a little bit on posting, I was putting all that effort into trying to create it, and now I'm going back. But anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, the Mattress Industry Network. We're a part of all those things, and we love those guys, Greg and Steve. So they can reach out to me on any of those platforms, DM me, and yeah, we'll take care of whatever questions they have, or if they're looking at just in having a conversation with the nerds and wanting to get around a little bit of passion, we're always open for that. So
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. And I want to thank Jeff, Steve, Ray, Chris, Blake, and Keith for chiming in and making this show one of our best shows. Guys, go to the website. You need to become a Sleep Nerds. If you need to become a sleep nerd, and you need to check out the Sleep Nerds website, get yourself an education, become a true sales pro, and change the way your clients sleep, and you will sell 1 million. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.